the final of the Magnus Carlsen Invitational between Anish Giri and Nepomniachtchi went into a tiebreak. 2 blitz games, and this is the first of them. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. Let's hit 100k! And do consider supporting us via PayPal or Patreon, links down there. Here we go. So 2 blitz games. If they were both drawn, they would play an Armageddon, but okay, let's deal with the 2 blitz games first. Giri with the white pieces. No Najdorf. Are we going to get a Taimanov? No. Giri plays c3, a good solid move. And after d5, well, yesterday we saw him exchange pawns on d5. Today he played pawn to e5, looking to go into an advance French with d4. Now, Nepo allowed that with knight c6. You can play d4 here. That cuts across white's strategy. It's a very interesting move. I've played this a few times with white, actually. And I don't quite trust it for white, but it's kind of double-edged. I'm sure Giri would have been ready for that. But anyway, knight c6 played, and now we go into a typical position from the advance French. So it's quite a solid line for white. I've played this, well, a few times with white, mainly with black. And here, knight a3 is absolutely typical. The knight is going to come back to c2 to support that key pawn on d4. And here, the main move is knight f5 for black, just to put some pressure here, and then the knight will go back to c2. Then you've got queen b6, for example. There's knight b4 as well. I think black is absolutely fine there, but I think Nepo wanted to play something very aggressive. He played knight g6 and then played f6. So he's breaking down that e5 pawn straight away. And then queen f6 is possible, but he went pawn takes pawn. Now, of course, that's really double-edged. From a very strict positional point of view, that's very nice for black because you've got nice central pawns. The pawn on f6 controls e5. And there's potential to use the G and H files as well. The drawback is that the king is less secure. You know, the king might go queenside. It's going to be less secure on the king's side, but yeah, it's basically a very double-edged move. Castles from Giri. Bishop d6, okay, nice development. g3, not only blunting the bishop's diagonal, but also taking away the f4 square. Sensible move. Although it does give black something to work on, and indeed, Nepo, well, he likes attacking. And he played h5. Bishop d3. He is neglecting his king, though. Let's just go back. Sorry, just let me backtrack a moment. You don't have to play h5 here. I mean, one way of playing, which is okay for black, is to play queen e7. Not a bad move anyway. And then castles queenside. So tucking the king away first and then turning attention to the king side with h5 and so on. But no, Nepo was in a hurry. It's a blitz game. He's going for it. Route 1. Knight e3 and h4. Yeah, if white had blocked with h4, that does leave g3 a bit weaker. Anyway, h4. I mean, there are pros and cons to this move. The disadvantage is that the knight now has that very nice square on g4. The advantage is that black potentially has an attack on the h-file, but double-edged. Knight f6 threatened. King f7 covers. How secure is the king on f7? We're about to find out. Rook e1, pressure on the semi-open file. Notice Giri playing very steadily. You know, he's not panicking about this potential attack on the h-file. Maybe it is time to panic with the queen coming over via g7 to h7. Yep, it's time to panic, all right, because Giri thought, okay, I'm not going to hang around and wait for this. I'm just going to throw things at the king. He sacrificed a piece. That was taken. And bishop c5. So he's a piece down. I can understand this decision because he wanted to just change the course of the game. Black cannot carry out this very crude attack on the h-file. He's got to think about defense. He is a piece up though. That helps. But this is dangerous when white has access to the f6 square for either of these pieces. This bishop is a superb piece. There's potentially queen f3. Very double-edged. If you look at this with a computer, it will give you a very clear answer. Black is winning. But in a blitz game, in a sweaty old blitz game, not so clear. And I like Giri's spirit in playing like this. Okay, bishop c6, that's a solid move. Looking down here, well, I spoke too soon. Maybe that attack on the h-file is coming good. Rook c1 played, attacking the bishop. And after d4, yes, mate in 1 is threatened, supported by that bishop. Nasty. So Giri played bishop e4. Had to do it. It's a pity to exchange off that light squared bishop. Knight f5, solid move. So, well, no chance of queen f3 breaking through. The knight on f5 blocks the queen. So queen a4 played. Okay, Giri trying to attack from the other side of the board. Don't panic. Nepo played rook c8. And if there's a check, then that bishop can drop back. For example, here. Bishop e7 and, well, that threatens to exchange rooks. So bishop f6 played. Okay, time for you to have a little think. I'll have a slurp of tea from my Queen in Siberia mug. Perfect product placement. Whose queen is in Siberia? That's the question. Maybe neither. They're both in the thick of it. Anyway, what would you play with black in this position? The bishop has just come to f6. Where are you going to move that rook? Here or here? Or maybe here? What's it going to be? Well, Nepo got it wrong. If he plays rook g8, which doesn't look like a very beautiful move, but he's winning. And the point is this, after queen d7 check, the bishop drops back to e7, and there's no danger. Once again, the rook is threatened here. When that moves to the side, we offer an exchange of queens. The queen has to come back, queen d5. Well, you can see that black is just taking over. White's pieces have to fall back. White's a piece down, he can't exchange, and black is finding his feet. But Nepo played rook h7. Disaster. Queen e7 check. And bizarrely, there is no good way to interpose on that square. If the bishop comes back, then because the rook has moved up, then that rook can just be taken. Knight e7 played. Bishop takes knight. End of game. It's hard to imagine that there's no good recapture in this position, but that's the case. You can recapture with bishop, knight, or queen. None of them are any good. That's what happens in a blitz game. I'm afraid sometimes the odds just don't work in your favour. If knight takes, rook f4 check, wins the queen. If bishop takes rook, wins the rook. And in the game, queen takes rook, Well, now white is the exchange up and has a continuing attack. Queen h8. Switching round to attack the king from the other side, and in this position, with this rook about to fall, Nepo resigned. What a disaster for Nepo. He'd fought so well to come back into the match. But yeah, in this game, had a winning position, threw it away. I should say that the second blitz game was equally disastrous, actually. Well, Nepo was just completely outplayed. It wasn't much of a contest. So, Anish Giri wins the Magnus Carlsen Invitational. I'm sure that will be a very sweet victory for him. He said afterwards, well, it doesn't really matter that much. It's kind of a nice distraction, but I'm sure that will give him a great boost of confidence before the Candidates Tournament starts in about a month's time. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed the coverage. Remember, there's going to be plenty more coming on the PowerPlayChess channel, so look out this week. Next topic is, well, I'm going to continue my theme of how to play the Queen's Gambit, and I'm very grateful to my patrons who've been discussing the subject and have made loads of really good suggestions for games. So I'll be looking at some more Queen's Gambit games coming up soon. Thanks for watching.